Hey everybody, welcome to our live coverage of the Bethesda Joins Xbox Roundtable, which is going to be starting in just a few minutes. This is Ash here with Obsidian and Moontag as always. How are you two doing this morning?
Still
Oh,
in
good.
pain. All right.
Pain. I'm fine. I'm nomming away at some breakfast, but yeah, no, Sab's been in recovery mode, and it's been better at least. Like I'm here, I'm helping. At least I think I'm helping.
You're helping. You're helping.
Yeah, so pretty big news, and we don't know entirely what to expect. This is apparently going to be some sort of a roundtable discussion between Bethesda and Xbox, well, Bethesda and Microsoft. The description here is that it's going to be a conversation with key leaders celebrating the Bethesda joining Team Xbox because they're now, owned by Microsoft, of course. But we're expecting, I don't know, a little more than just some sort of a business discussion. Expecting some game trailers, expecting some info. What do you think we're going to see here today, Saib?
Well, we're not expecting those things. We're hoping for those things. I would think that if they had any projects, in the loop, like in being prepared, this would be a great time to do it. This is the 15-year anniversary of Oblivion going gold. 15 years. And this highlights what I was saying the other day, when it comes to Fallout, is like you got to think about this. We've had two games in 15 years released in 15 years since Oblivion went gold. That doesn't count the time from Oblivion to the previous game. So 15 years from one release to include another release, and still we're not even close to the next release of Elder Scrolls from Bethesda. So we're talking like, we're talking literally, it's almost coming down to one game every decade. And I think this is a terrible thing. I think one of the reasons why joining Microsoft is a good idea is maybe it'll allow them to grow a little bit bigger. Bethesda's pretty smart with money. They have, they stockpile, they make long-term plans, they really work on a long-term system. They're very close as a studio. They're very connected as a team. Most everybody knows everybody else on some level or another, and most of these teams have been working in small teams for literally now, like, literally over a decade now. There's certain teams that have like one or two new members in the past, like 15 years. So that's something that's great for development, but it's bad for like mass producing stuff when gaming, creating games just gets more and more complicated down the road.
Yeah,
So
and it's taking
that
longer
that's
and longer and
yeah,
longer to put out a
yeah.
game. And I mean, really, when you think about it, I, yeah, any series where you've got 10 years between releases, I mean, you just don't remember the lore for that long. It's a long time. I mean, it is getting just way too long. So, for sure, hopefully
Mhm.
this helps boost the schedule. Hopefully this helps just have more resources, more people on the teams creating these games. I mean, it was long enough between Fallout and Elder Scrolls releases, and then Bethesda went and added Starfield to the roster, which, I mean, is good. I mean, I'm excited to see what Starfield is for sure, but it just means that's just one additional game release cycle where we're not getting an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout. So,
Mhm.
and we're not counting Fallout 76. We're just not counting Fallout 76.
Yeah.
It's a Fallout 4 mod. Let's face it. Not saying it's. I mean,
Well, it's Fallout 4. It was always supposed to be Fallout 4 expansion. Like we discovered
yeah,
that that entry in the Steam system for a new expansion before 76 was announced, and there were four things showing up indicating that there was going to be basically a team mode. and we had been hearing rumors about this for quite a while, and then they came out and it was 76, and then that entry on Steam for that expansion, mystery expansion on Fallout 4 disappeared. So yeah, it was never supposed to be a standalone game. From Todd's perspective, it was supposed to be the basic tools to allow multiplayer, and then they were just going to like put it out there and let the community run with it. But instead, Zenimax walked in and said, "Hey, that looks like it's gonna raise a lot of money. Can we put some microtransactions on that?" And Todd's like, "No, it's really not built for single player. No, we're gonna do single player. We're gonna do it. Put it back in time, like before the thing." And it, like again, this is gonna ruin like so much lore. Hey, either do it or find a new job, okay? And then then that's how we got 76. And again, the Bethesda studio was minimally involved in this. They fixed the Atlas problem. They did the like they built the physical world, like the map, and then everything else was moved over to a different studio. So yeah, kind of a mess. Obviously, we know now how big of a mess it was. We know that they're probably not going to be doing this again, and under Microsoft, we'll see what's happening. One of the big things that we'll need to see, and we'll kind of get a feel of this. To be honest, I think we're going to get a feel of this today. Will be who's in charge now, basically at the Bethesda wing of Microsoft. And I suspect that we're going to discover that this is going to be Todd. Todd is going to be basically overseeing most everything. They're probably going to announce or mention that he's been, he's promoted to this new position where it's like, head of, but also regional head of, et cetera, whatever. Of Bethesda wing of properties and stuff like that.
Now, is that going to be good for public trust? There's a lot of people who don't trust Todd Howard, and I'm not saying it's necessarily deserved or undeserved, but
well, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't trust Microsoft right now. So
very true, yeah.
So this is and so like I was saying, so this is going to open up. This is going to give us an inkling into what's going on and how the structure is going to be set up. If we don't get any game trailers at all, and if it's just a general like nice how to do, and it's a very low key informational thing where they talk about their goals, where they talk about their new plans, they don't mention anything at all, this would be a sign that Todd Howard is 100% in control of everything. And how would we know that? Because he's always said that this is how he would prefer to run studios, meaning that he wants the game to be 100% perfect before they even announce it. So he wouldn't have released most of his games in the way that he released. They released, as in like, information bleeds over a couple months, then a big announcement, then a release date, then a couple more months, and then the game comes out. He will want to do this in, we would hear about it literally about a month before it drops. So very, very few pre-orders, like just skipping all that stuff, because Todd himself doesn't agree with that kind of stuff. He doesn't think that it's a good thing to do. He wants it to be, he wants to bring it back and make it more of a, when it's ready, that's when you talk about it. If it's not ready, you're not talking about it, because again, in that scenario, in that case, it probably would have saved a lot of headache from a lot of game companies trying to do too much, trying to, they pitch an idea to the community, to the public, and then they have to sit there and try and make that thing work for a really long time. And then in retrospect, you look at these two products, you got, whether it's Cyberpunk or whether it's Anthem or whether it's, any of these games where you look back on it and you're like, yeah, what we saw wasn't necessarily what we got, in the final edition. And, some people now take great offense to this, like just super huge offense to this. So moving forward, if that's the case, then great. However, are we expecting something? Perhaps they might release a game from one of their studios this summer. If that's the case, then I suspect we'll, and if, yeah, so if they're releasing something soonish, soon TM, then we're probably looking at some kind of a tease today, and then probably a release in like May, June-ish, maybe, or maybe even in April. That'd be kind of cool. Again, possibly. We really don't know. Again, we really, really have no idea, because this is the first time they're doing this. Is this just going to be a friendly, hello, this is what we're doing, and then that's it? Or
hello, we're here, we exist. Yeah. And it's about to start very shortly. It's supposed to be starting right now, so it could start any second now. So we'll just go over to the premiere window here on YouTube and get
Put
that
on
going.
Dark mode. Oh my goodness, what are you doing?
I don't want dark mode. All right, so we've got a 2-minute countdown going on here now, so we'll just mute that for the time being. So Islington Girl says, is this going to mean more or less microtransactions in Bethesda games?
Probably, honestly, means less.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I would kind of look at it, quite possibly. Today we also had the announcement from Outer Worlds, so we'll talk about that probably at the end of the show, right?
Yeah, some sort of murder mystery DLC. I actually haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but people are getting pretty excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
It
just dropped like an hour and a half ago, so.
Mm-hmm. All right, and
don't forget to smash that like button, you guys. It tells us and the algorithm that you appreciate our content.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to everybody who is watching live. Got quite a few actually, so glad to see you all. Glad you're joining us for this. And it should be a good time regardless of what happens here. I really am hoping we see some game content, some game announcements or trailers, teasers, something like that. They have, as you said on the last podcast there, Saib, they've had a year to prepare for this. I mean, this deal's been a long time in the making. The companies had agreed to it months ago. They were just waiting on approval from various government bodies that have to approve these gigantic deals. So that's some very colorful numbers that are appearing there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to turn up the volume. Here we go.
Oh, looks like we're starting with a trailer.
Oh, boy.
Or not.
Robert Altman, he was one of the Zenimax
founder.
Guys, right?
Yeah. He was
Here's to the journey.
He was a founder that was forced out.
The unforgettable adventures.
I think that maturity rating
The epic
was
quests.
just in general.
The decades of discoveries. We found each other through a shared passion for games. More than just a company, a family. With an unwavering belief in people and what we could make together. For the last 35 years, we've grown.
Okay.
From a small basement in Maryland.
This is the same thing they returned they released the other day.
Around the world.
And they put an insane amount of work into this because they did like a parallax thing with all of these old photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Together, we brought our dreams to life. Worlds that inspire creativity and chaos. Worlds where players are free to leave their own mark. From snow-covered peaks to the fiery depths of hell. To post-apocalyptic wastelands and beyond. So here's to the games we've made, and to the games we'll make tomorrow. Here's to staying true to the vision that inspired it all. A legacy built with love, respect, and a dedication to excellence. And here's to you for being there with us through it all.
Merci beaucoup.
A new chapter
Yeah,
has
so
begun.
I got that backwards. Altman is the guy
Here's
who
to the
forced
journey.
out Weaver.
Just
So,
getting started.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know he died. That's shocking. I did not know he died.
They've got the Indiana Jones trademark on the bottom of the screen. I didn't even see an Indiana Jones thing in there. All right, here we go. Social distancing interview
Hi
coming
everyone,
up.
this is Aaron Greenberg, the head of games marketing at Xbox. We are here at the headquarters of Bethesda in Maryland. It is a truly special day, and we wanted to take you behind the scenes to hear from the creators, hear from the team members about what it means for Bethesda to join Xbox in this roundtable. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the head of marketing and PR at Bethesda. You know him, Pete Hines.
Good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming out to see us.
Good to be here.
Thank all of you for joining us. I want to start by introducing our colleague who couldn't make the trip out here, but is going to be joining us on the roundtable today, and that would be Bond, Sarah Bond, joining us all the way from the other side, head of partnerships at Xbox. That was pretty good. You have to introduce yourself.
That was awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It's good to see you.
Okay, it
Pete.
wasn't
Good
that
to
good.
see you. Thanks for joining us. To my right here, we have two Aarons. We decided to stick all of our Aarons over on this side of the room to make it really easy to keep track. In addition to Aaron Greenberg, we've got Aaron Losi, our Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications. This gentleman needs no introduction. All of you should know who he is. Phil Spencer. Thank you for coming out to see us, Phil.
Thanks for having us. Excited.
And speaking of people who need no introduction, legendary game developer and my good friend Todd Howard from Bethesda Game
It's great to see you in person.
Finally.
Fidelity is sick. Is this a Teams call?
Like a year ago that we got
Look at
to
that.
see
He's already doing Microsoft ads.
Definitely not.
Good plug. Good plug.
That was the first good joke of the
We
day.
get
Okay.
royalties on those plugs.
Phil.
Phil, how does this work?
Good to see you've had the second dose of the Kool-Aid. That's good.
So as Aaron said, we're here today to talk about this amazing partnership of Bethesda and Xbox coming together. And I want to start, Phil, with you, because you're the one who made all of this happen and had the vision for what this might be. And I wonder if you could start by sort of giving us your own words on how did this all come about?
Yeah, what an exciting time for our fans. I see it in the community. I see it in the industry. People want to know what's going to come. We're bringing all of these creative teams together. We know it, gamers play games, and we knew our focus on our first party and our ability to build great games for Xbox fans was critically important to not only where we are, but where we're going. And the conversations we've had with you and the team here over the years have been instrumental to what we've done to date. So the opportunity to strengthen that relationship even further, starting now, will just be awesome.
Okay, I mean, we're finally here. Like, I feel like we've been building towards this day forever.
You know, we get that because we got a lot of questions, all of us, over the months about, well, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? And we said it a couple times, but I'm not sure everybody heard it.
They didn't believe us, Phil.
We weren't able, there was no decision-making going on between the organizations. You guys have been running as Bethesda for all this time. Which, like you said, seems like it's been a long time. We've been running as Xbox, so now we can actually start to sit down and really build our plans together. And that, I can't wait.
This is day
awesome.
one. I mean,
yeah.
But it is fun to see. People just can't believe it's real. Even the official announce, like seeing fans retweet, I still can't believe this is real. And the excitement of what this means for gamers, what this means for dev teams, like, you know, for us, like we could not be more excited. We've worked with you guys for years. We've been fans for years, but now, like, we're family, and that's a really exciting thing.
First of all, it's just incredible to be sitting next to you in person after so many months of team calls and getting to know each other. So thank you for both taking the time to come out and join us here in Rockville. Todd, as someone who's been here since almost the beginning, I'd love your perspective on what this means to you.
It's a lot of emotions, a lot of excitement. It's, you know, also, it's just surreal. I have to be honest. Like, even if it wasn't COVID and we're doing all of this, just this moment in our company's history would be surreal for myself and everybody who's been here for a very long time. You know, our company's had a lot of chapters, but when I think about it, each of those is marked by doing that with many of the folks at Xbox through every generation of consoles and technology. And when we sort of thought about what the future would bring, the games that we want to create, You know, Phil is someone I'm always calling and bouncing things off of. And as we talked, it became clearer and clearer that this kind of partnership was where we wanted to go with all of the games we were doing.
Well,
We realized we were more than just
we
friends.
have a head of partnership sitting right there. Sarah, this is something obviously you've been a big part of at Xbox. What was your take on how this process evolved and the idea of, hey, you know, Bethesda joining Xbox, becoming part of the same team? What were your thoughts when you first started hearing about it?
You know, in a lot of ways, it was very similar to what Todd just said. You know, always from the beginning, whenever we were thinking about our plans or our vision for gaming or what we wanted to do next, you guys were the first people we called. Like, we would run things by you. We would have really great discussions about the vision for gaming, the future of Xbox. And in a lot of ways, it was something we formed together. And one of the things we did out of that, right, is you guys were early supporters of Game Pass, and you worked with us and you gave us feedback, and we got to just see together the incredible value it creates for both players and creators. And that really was the natural evolution that created the opportunity for this awesome partnership and for us to come together, be on one team. And so just how you say you think of the future of gaming and you didn't see a future of gaming without Xbox. We just didn't see a future for Xbox without Bethesda.
Now, we know you all have a lot of questions. We've gotten a lot of questions since we announced this deal. But one of the biggest ones, Phil, is this question about exclusivity and how you think about that and how that's going to work with Bethesda.
Yeah, I see it. I see it in the community. I listen to the podcasts and all the questions. So I'm going to try to be as clear as I can. Because that's what I just think it's fair.
You're right, Islington
So
girl.
obviously, I can't sit here and say
Lots
every
of
Bethesda
ego
game is
massaging.
exclusive, because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations.
Yeah, I wish they'd lay off
we're going to
that
see through,
in
as we
these
always
kinds
do
of
in every one of
things,
these
'cause,
instances.
like,
we
get
have
it.
games
You
that
like each
exist
other.
on other
You
platforms,
have to.
and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there might be things that have either contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do. But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. And that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we will be able to bring to market for our Xbox customers. It's going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here.
Okay, Sarah, so Phil was just talking about Game Pass and how important that is to Xbox. You're obviously heavily involved in Game Pass. Talk to us a little bit about what folks can expect here in the near future.
Well, we're just getting started, right? But as part of that, one of the things that we're excited about is starting tomorrow, 20 games from Bethesda are actually going to be available in Game Pass, which is just awesome and represents just the beginning of, the collaboration across our team. So we're actually going to be posting this in social. People can go check it out. All the games are going to be available, and it's just the beginning of some great things to come.
And to be clear, that's across all of our studios. We've got 8 studios around the world. Every kind of game you could imagine, RPGs, first-person shooters, no matter what you're into, you need to check Game Pass tomorrow because, man, there's an awful lot of content.
You're right. You're right, Phil. That's all the kinds of games I can imagine.
Consumers see Game Pass as like, just give me games. I have lots of games. But then as a creator, it really unlocks some things that maybe you wanted to do, or will this find an audience, or there's certain types of games that maybe in the past could kind of get lost sometimes. And having that kind of avenue to make a game and release a game opens up so many things, a lot of things that our company and all our studios, they really, really love to do. From the creator side, it's also just, awesome.
Well, I have a coworker that literally has gone on and on with me about Fallout 76 and saying I went in and started playing Fallout 76 and when it came into Game Pass, and I've been thrilled with the community and just like how supportive it is, and it's like arguably one of the healthiest gaming communities out there, especially for new players, and that's been a great benefit to hopefully having more players in that community.
It really is, and 76, while you mention it, is something where it's another sort of point in my mind with our relationship where when that game launched, the litany of issues we had, and we let a lot of people down.
He admits
and,
it, right?
Well, there was very little we didn't screw up, honestly. And one of the people that I called was Phil, and I said, hey, there's so many things we're dealing with. What advice do you have? And he put me in touch with some people at Xbox who were able to look at all of the games in the system and what was important and what wasn't important to the other games that made it for the long haul. And that kind of advice really, really helped us And now, seeing 76 be one of the most played games on Xbox, we're just, incredibly fortunate to be there.
Yeah, Game Pass allows creative freedom, and that we have seen that with all of the creators that we've worked with Game Pass across the ecosystem. It's one of the things I think is most beautiful about it, is it actually gives you access to an audience that you may not have otherwise been able to reach. It's helped games that people may have never discovered actually get played.
It's
and it's
gotten
actually
a lot
empowering creativity, and I just think that's a cool thing, and it was cool to hear Todd say it too.
So Los, obviously games is a big part of what we do here and how we interact with our fans. But I think the way that Bethesda chooses to approach how we talk to our fans, how we interact with our fans, is a big part of who we are, which you've obviously been a huge part of since you've been here. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it's about dialogue, right? It's about a two-way conversation with our fans, and we never want them to feel like we're talking at them, because that does nothing for them and it does nothing for us. So, as we host events, whether they're digital
mean you're not going to ask us if we have phones?
It's about the whole experience.
My mind is blown.
Who do they get to talk to?
I thought that's what game companies did.
It's not about just churning a certain number of people through a kiosk to put their hands on a game. I mean, that's obviously an important part of it, but I think we look at it as the people are just as important as the games. And having the opportunity to work with you, Aaron, over the last few months in planning, it's just so refreshing to see how aligned we are in our approach to treating fans.
I agree. I'd just love to say, it's been incredible to see your obsession with fans and how much you kind of start there about putting yourself in the eyes of the gamer and how they'll react to things and how you've shaped things, how you've
I agree, Sword Sister. I am cringing at some of the stuff Pete Hines is saying.
More of that.
I have not been shy
it
at
makes
all.
us better.
I think we had a little fight over email in our first 2 days. No, it was. We tell it how it is. I think authenticity is a big part of who we are too.
Aaron.
I won. I definitely won.
Todd, I wanted you to talk a little bit about something that you preached a lot when I first got here in '99, which is a willingness to throw stuff out and start all over again. You sort of champion this idea that you can't be beholden to any feature that's in your game before. And when you hear Phil talk about how rapidly things change in this industry, I think a lot of what we do as Bethesda comes from you in terms of your approach to development and being willing to try new things to push boundaries.
Yeah, one of our mottos in the studio, and it came in the company for a while, is great games are played, not made. You can have the best design. This is a genius idea, but you never know how it's going to feel. Like that, what makes something fun in your hands. And when we think about the future of games and our ability to make them, that doing this together and this kind of partnership, and it's going to sound cliche, like they believe it or don't believe it, but we have a firm belief that we're going to make the best games we could possibly make by doing this. So whereas I think it's great to have all of these games under one umbrella, what does that mean at the end of the day to the games you're looking at? It's, for us, they're going to be even better than the way we were going to be doing them. And that's the ability to tap into everything at Xbox, to tap into everything that we've done in the past and solve those problems really together.
And something I want to build on there, our aspiration is to have literally billions of people experience the great games that both our teams build and our partners. And through the power of our console and PC and xCloud and that continued growth that we have, my aspiration, my goal, my hope is that the next games that come out of Bethesda will be the most played games in the history of the studios organization. It is about reaching more players, as you say. It's about games that are played and finding those players wherever they are as we continue to expand the great capability of gaming to more and more people. That, I think, is just that's going to be so fun to watch as people around the planet get more and more ability to experience the things that Bethesda is capable of building.
Hey, Sarah, so when Phil's starts talking about this ecosystem and widening the number of people that are able to play games like ours, obviously as somebody who's in charge of partnerships, that's a pretty giant undertaking in terms of the number of people that you're now dealing with. What does Bethesda being part of Xbox now do for you in terms of the partnerships that you're making and how you're able to
Now, I wonder
grow
if they're
Xbox
using like
beyond its current
earbuds
boundaries to
or
something much bigger and broader?
if they've got like wireless.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like this
or,
fundamental
wired
acceleration to our
headphones.
vision, like
I don't see them.
the ability to actually make it possible for someone to play
Like,
Bethesda
teeny tiny ones or,
games,
like,
you know, on
wraparound
any
ones.
device. If it's PC,
Now, this is
if it's
pre-edited,
console, but also a mobile
so,
device or
they
any other
can,
type of smart screen in the future
They have a
is
little more
just
freedom with
incredible.
how to
And
do things.
you know, partners
The
look
audio,
at you
yeah.
guys partnering with us, and they feel even more passionate about that vision.
They might not
Oh,
even.
And so
They
it
might
just-
not even
it
be a live
dramatically accelerates
call
our ability
together,
to just
like-
reach players around
Oh
the
no,
world.
it's a live
Can I
call
jump on that
because
second?
they're
Like
asking
for
questions
us,
that
our
bouncing
old
back.
games,
But
seeing
he's
them
got
get
a
out,
he's
they used
got
to
a
worry
Todd's
that,
got an
like,
earpiece,
unlike
but I can't see the
movies or other
earpiece
forms of
on
entertainment,
anybody
gaming
else.
has this technology barrier where can I experience the old ones? And I think gamers, I hope they appreciate it, but they don't appreciate much the,
Yeah, we
the
should make a
technical
drinking game.
marvel that the
How many
backward
times are they gonna say
compatibility
ecosystem?
is on the systems. The fact that you can load up Oblivion, first game Aaron and Losi and I worked on together, and run it in 4K on your Xbox now, and that's on Game. For a creator to have that
okay.
still
All
have
right,
life
there we go.
is just awesome.
That's great.
And the teams are already working on adding FPS boost to a number of those titles too, which I know we're going to announce soon. Not today, but soon. So,
That's good.
but that's right. Without having to
not a
touch
major
the code, you
announcement,
can
but
basically
it's
take
good.
backward
I feel like you
compatible
just
games,
announced
take
it.
full advantage of the new hardware, and get things like FPS boost is just another win for gamers.
Okay, so we did say that we were going to be like light on news. This is not a news event, but we talked about Game Pass, and folks are going to want to know, like, hey, when
did they say
are we
that?
going to get some information on what you all are doing together now that you're starting? So, Los, Screeny, what can they expect?
Well, one, I want to get through today first before we start planning
That's an
the next
admirable
big
goal.
thing, but,
I like it.
We've been having lots of discussions.
We are deep in planning mode, and it's been awesome because even as we've talked about, we think about content, we think about how we produce things, like we actually use a lot of the same teams. We think about stuff in the same ways. So even the process of, people don't realize, but when you go put, historically it was like the E3, event or whatever, you put on a show, you do a digital thing, like people don't realize that takes months and months of preparation. And so we are in that planning phase. We are looking at content, we are thinking about content. So now that we are officially one team, this is sort of the opportunity now for us to move at even more accelerated pace. But it's been fun.
Aaron, Greeny's dancing. He's not giving an answer. What's the
We'll
answer?
have something this summer.
This summer. Thank you,
Good?
Losi. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, you heard it from Losi. You're going to hear this summer. We're going to take
Summer
a look.
officially ends when? They just want to give us some
Whenever.
room.
It's all over the globe.
All right.
So we're going to let Sarah and Todd get back to work, and we're going to be joined by Matt Booty, head of Xbox Game Studios, and Todd Vaughn, our senior vice president of development, right after this community spotlight.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn this down a little bit so we can comment on that. So I think only one thing can redeem this right now, and that is if Phil Spencer puts on that Corvo mask and blinks the hell out of there at the end. Then I'll consider this presser a success.
It is pretty amazing to have a community that's been around for this long.
Nothing? No comment? Okay. Saib and Moon, are you...
Well, I mean, I'm trying to. I was trying to like place who you were talking, and then I was like, oh right, yes, of course, the game that I can't play, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. one of a few. So,
Notional is asking, what did I miss? A big corporate circle jerk so far.
Essentially.
it's mostly circled. It's mostly been a circle of like, oh, we love everybody. Hey, everybody loves us. So the two biggest things that happened so far is that Todd literally apologized, and spoke about how epically they had let people down with 76, and that he was, really not happy with that performance. So that was a huge thing. And then they also announced sort of that FPS boost was coming to a lot of the older games. So again, nothing major, but
Whoa, Todd morphed.
And what a great segue, because Games and Studios is what we're here to talk about. Joining us from Washington is the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty. Matt, welcome.
Hi, Pete. How are you?
Good. Matt, for folks who may not be familiar with you, tell them a little bit about what you do, your
Not
career,
gonna laugh
how
at
you
that
got to Xbox.
I know,
I'm
right?
not going to laugh at that name.
Yeah, I've got the great privilege of working with all our teams across Xbox Game Studios, all the teams, all the studios, all the great people. coming up on 11 years here at Xbox, working with
Well, I
the team
really
and working
hope
with
he
Phil,
doesn't
and
name his
had
daughter
the
Mai.
good fortune to work on things like bringing Mojang into Xbox, and also many of the studios that we've added over the last 5 to 6 years.
Sorry, that studio you said Mojang. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Did they make anything? Oh, the Minecraft guys, right?
Small team.
Yeah, maybe Minecraft.
Just
maybe
a little
you've heard of it.
Just a little thing like Mojang. And Phil was mentioning that you're kind of the Katamari of studios, that basically you've added how many studios now to Xbox Game Studios? 6?
Or Anita, yeah.
Yeah, well, we've grown quite a bit. We're at 15 now, so we've added 7 over the last few years.
7. That's
more than double.
That's one of many nicknames Phil's got for me.
That's the only one I was told I was allowed to use during this. So we'll go with that
my
one.
dad knew a
Matt,
family.
thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you here. And also with us is my longtime friend, the man who's responsible for me being at Bethesda.
Their
Todd Vaughn
names
recruited me to Bethesda back in 1999. Our senior vice president of development, Todd Vaughn. TV, I view you as the biggest
Joseph did.
unknown secret in
it's a very common thing. But they had named
and I want
their
you
2
to explain
children
to folks who
Anita
you are, when
and
you got
Harry.
here,
So
your background.
it was one of those things where
with
they shook their head and they go, either they're stupid or they're just like screwing
and
with their
I
kids.
got recruited to join then Bethesda before Zenimax. It was just right before. And I joined Bethesda to basically, scout games and to be a biz dev to help on the publishing side of the business. And it's one of those phenomenon where,
Max says he knows a guy whose name is
you start going
Richard
down that path.
Dip.
And I ended up being a lot more involved in the production and the development. And as Zenimax was forming, Robert came in and started Zenimax and had a mission and an agenda. And right out of the gate, the first part of that mission was to really set up our internal team, Bethesda Game Studios, and put them on a path for success.
Matt, I want to ask you, when you look at the kind of studios that Bethesda has and the kind of games that we make, what is it about what we do that resonates with you and that makes you feel like it's such a good partnership? And we've been sitting here talking about what a great partnership it is. But from your perspective, head of development, you get to work with all of these studios. How do you see all of those things combining together in sort of a common DNA?
If you look at some of the commonalities of all the studios that we've acquired over the last few years, I think the thing that stands out is that so many of them are creator-led.
They're also changelings too. You got to watch out for
those founders are game designers. The
They,
founders are game creators, and most of the culture
the
flows
Dominion
down
is a
from
credible
that creative
threat
aspect,
to
from that game design
the-
aspect. I think Todd Howard said it earlier. Games
Nothing
aren't
really-
made; they're played, right? And I think that resonates with most of our studios.
Sorry, I was stunned
as
by
we've been having
those
sort of get to meet you
those
calls
stock
and
footage,
spending more time with all of the Bethesda
past events
studios,
where social
it really
distancing
has
wasn't
stood out
required.
that's
I was
the
just
same
like,
for
oh
your
yeah,
studios,
that used to be
they
the
are
world.
Creator-led, they're design-led, and they also have such a focus on the players and bringing the players into that design process, making sure that once a game is out there, even that as it evolves and as it grows,
Zoe,
with community being
man, I
want
to watch the stream, but all the booty is putting me off.
I think that's another real similarity, that we've just got a real
Yes,
fan
I know.
focus, real player
No wonder they
focus,
had that maturity
and,
rating at the
that
beginning.
Connects all the way back up to the top, where all of our studios really start first with the creator, the designer, and the game idea.
I think as part of that, Matt, a lot of people don't realize it, but you've set up this structure as you've added Ninja Theory or Obsidian or NXI, all these different teams, like to allow them to have almost like stay in a bubble, so they still have that ability to go create what they want to make. Like, we don't tell them what games to make, but how would you describe that environment and how you've learned from the Mojang piece? And then how will that apply as we think about integrating the Bethesda teams into our first party, Xbox teams? How do you kind of think about that and how that makes better games?
I think back to the Minecraft Mojang days. I think we were just a few days into it, and our CEO, Satya Nadella, said something, I think it was in an email. He said, we have as much to learn from them as they have to learn from us. And that always has stuck with me, that our job isn't to come in and sort of force a culture on them. Games, I like to think about, it's almost like a greenhouse, right? The environment in which they're designed is so important, is so critical.
Dare I
and
say
the
an
last thing that we want to
ecosystem.
do is upset that. So there's very much
that's definitely where the half
keep your
shot
ears
right
open,
there.
keep your eyes open. What do we have to learn from this group of people that have been making games for 5, 10, 15, 20 years? There's obviously a lot to learn there.
We were talking yesterday, TV and Pete and I, about synergies between studios. And I obviously, having worked here for a long time, know about a lot of them. But he was even bringing up stuff that I didn't know about, collaborating and learning from one another. And TV, I was hoping you could just share how we operate and share tech and ideas, because I think it's pretty interesting.
It frankly has evolved organically. I think that idea of sort of like central planning and everybody being given or provided directly from a
Phil is
central
bored.
source isn't quite
Phil
the
is just
right approach.
he's
especially
channeling
how
the
we've
audience
grown.
here.
We grew organically. We added teams over time. They came in with different bits of knowledge that we really didn't know that some groups had and some groups didn't. So we had to kind of figure things out as we went.
Oh wow, he does
and
look bored. Wow.
It led to sort of a lot of little happy surprises and collaborations that, frankly, you wouldn't plan for. There's some little.
This
known
guy
facts
though,
of, like,
this
teams
is that
who've worked on other
professor
projects.
in
MachineGames is probably one of our
in
most
university
successful
you
teams
did
from
not
a
want for
collaboration
morning
standpoint.
class because he'd put you
Probably
right to
worked
sleep.
on everything.
Pretty much at this point.
There's no fluctuation in his
even
tone
before,
whatsoever.
I think it was
He's just
probably either right before or when we were acquiring MachineGames. They were already working on Skyrim.
This is why, like, I don't understand why.
Fantastic team. There's
like when you're put into these positions,
in
it's like
Doom
the best thing you can
2016
do is join like a
that I don't
Toastmasters
think
club.
anybody realizes.
Yeah.
Where you learn to
Lucy and I.
speak and hold an audience.
What?
Yeah,
I thought I knew everything.
Like
and a
you
lot of
got to
our
learn how to
secrets that
like
we have, like, so
inflect. I mean,
like,
I have no
people have
natural
some
inflection.
down
It's
times,
all
some cycles.
learned
They'll
and
want to participate or collaborate. We share them
intentional.
evenly, across
So,
teams, and allow them to do that.
if I can learn it,
then we
any
have
of
the
these
more,
people can.
Obvious ones like Arcane Leon and MachineGames collaborated on Youngblood. It's a lot of collaboration.
And I think it largely stems from them. They're just fans of one another's work, right? Like, it's not that you have said, okay, I need you to go over here. And we'll hear from a lot of those studio heads later today, and I think that you'll see that and hear that in
I feel
their
like
own
we're
words
watching
about,
like a business meeting.
really admiring one another's
Well,
work,
it's
and
a
that
little
it
bit
does
of
feel
one,
like
yeah.
a family.
Well, one of the unique
like-
things we do that most folks don't know about, Aaron, I wonder if you want to tell folks about, is like what we do
Would
at
be
the
more
Midwinter
interesting if
Meet,
they started
and
playing D&D,
that every
yes.
developer and how they
Right.
present, that's just not something that happens. Talk a little bit about.
Not only just
Yeah, I mean,
D&D.
it's
I would love
the
them to
most
play
special
D&D
time of
with
year,
one person
and
being
that
the
might sound
Dragonborn,
cheesy,
one
but
person
it's
being
true. I mean, everyone that works at
the main
Bethesda
character
is so
from Prey.
passionate. Like, what
Another
better
one
week
being
could
like,
you spend than
you know,
checking out
in a full
really early looks at all the
like,
wonderful
I don't
things
know,
that the creators are making. So
one of the main characters from Fallout
it's
4
it's
or
not
Fallout
just
3
taking
maybe.
a look at what each
Corvo,
other is doing.
Corvo,
it's
yeah.
meeting,
DJ
the team
Blazkowicz.
meeting
Doom
with one
Slayer,
another
yeah,
and
Doom
sharing
Slayer did get him in there,
stories
yeah.
and techniques and
Mr. Blavovich.
Or getting
how do
super
you say
excited
his
for
name?
each other's
Blazkowicz.
projects.
I want them.
Folks at
I
Arcane
want them to
start
pick up
freaking
those
out when they
props and
see,
start
the
fighting.
next
Like, we need
MachineGames
something here.
title, or they all get to see Doom Eternal for the first time, when it's been in development for 6 months, but it's still really
and
fun.
we use it in marketing too to look at things and say, what's resonating in as we, summer shows take many months of planning, so we always use that as well as kind of a first litmus test. Like, well, let's let everyone in the company see it first and give feedback. And
It's actually not
I
live,
love
Sword
that.
Sister.
It's
It's
like
a
you're
premiere,
making a
so you
recipe
can't
and
scroll
it's like a head
ahead.
chef, but you've
But it
included
is
everyone
a
in the kitchen
pre-recorded
to kinda
video.
contribute and taste and contribute. And
lots of people in the kitchen.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Midwinter thing is great. So I will tell you, Matt does something very similar with his teams.
And they
I
probably
love the
filmed this
name
either
of
yesterday or
meeting,
this
Matt. Can
morning.
you talk about the best meeting and like what that is about? Because I will tell you, that is my absolute favorite meeting, and I just like the collaboration and what comes out of that and the spirit of that is something really special.
Yeah, I think best actually stood for something. We used to call them quarterly reviews, but it turns out that we weren't reviewing and they weren't happening quarterly. So we decided.
But it was a
to
great
call
name
them
otherwise,
something else.
other than it having
Yeah,
nothing to do with the meeting. It was
for
great.
me, they really are the best meeting because all we do for an entire
Yes,
morning
Sword
is
Sister.
review.
The more
work in
someone
progress,
says
a lot like Aaron's
ecosystem, the
just
more I
talking
feel like I'm
about.
watching
So,
a petri dish.
everybody brings the latest that
Did
they've
they
got,
just make
and
a
we'll
get in the
cycle through all
kitchen
the
joke?
studios.
I didn't.
Sometimes
I
it
missed
might
that.
be early concept work. Sometimes it's actually playable. material.
I don't know.
This
I
is a
missed
great
it.
chance for everybody to get feedback.
So in the live chat on YouTube, there's
hearing about the midwinter meeting
on their stream. There's just like
November
there's a ton of people being very
before we,
sleepy
stopped being able
and
to travel,
very
all of our
sleepy.
studio
This
heads
wasn't
together, and I
here
remember
in
just
the last
walking into that
section, so I
room
want to say
thinking,
again,
wow, this
like guys,
represents,
learn
I
to
think, something like
learn to
300 years of
enunciate, learn to
combined experience
inflect a
running
little bit
studios,
more.
working on games together. So it's really exciting when you get that sort of critical mass together of creatives, and I think it's gonna be pretty fantastic when we figure out how, for the first time, we can get all of our studio heads as Xbox and Bethesda together.
I like it when
And,
she
whether
asks like
that's, the best midwinter meeting or the
when
midwinter
does
best
summer
meeting.
end? She was wanting an
It'll be
actual
fun
date.
when we
Nobody
can,
knew it
just
off the
get
top of
everybody
their
together in
head, so
one
they were all
place
like,
and,
"Oh,
as
it's
you
all
said,
the
get that
time."
creative synergy going.
I was like,
as
wow.
I listened to Matt talk about this previously, about sort of
No,
sparking
no,
that
it's not summer all over
enthusiasm,
the
that
place.
passion
It's
that,
summer
that
on the northern
300
hemisphere and
years
the
worth of
summer
experience that the
southern
studio
hemisphere at
heads
opposite
have,
times of
that
the
you are
year.
looking to bring together these folks who have a passion and then give them tools and resources, not just, hey, why don't you two make a game together, but TV, we've talked about studios going to each other for, hey, I want my guns to feel more like they do in the id game, or we're working on some new feature in our game that's new to us, kind of like Greenie was just talking about. That is a big part of.
It's absolutely a big part, and even to the point of the midwinter meetings, it's as much as it is an ability to kind of show what we're working on and show the progress to the company and be excited by that. It's also kind of like a mini GDC, a game developers conference, where you can
I just
actually
really want him to grab that sword.
from,
I don't know.
World,
It's
recognized,
right
experts on a topic.
So it's a little further
we'll
away
have
than
little breakout
just right
sessions and
there.
meetings and summits.
Well, it's
So
way,
that's a
Ken's a little ways
two-hander.
behind him, but still.
We've also looked to
The sword is
expand
more
that
interesting than what
here
he's saying.
because it is a phenomenal
Right?
resource. We have
He
some
could
incredible
get
talent.
up and run
in
down
animation,
around there,
in
grab
AI,
it, and start punctuating
engine and
his
rendering technology.
conversation and words with
And,
it.
Let's
He could
put
stab
Well,
a few
okay,
times.
okay.
That
And
would
they
be
get to
that would
see
be
it, and they
entertaining.
start asking questions, emailing
Well,
other programmers.
I'll sum
like,
up
how
kind
in
of what
the hell
they're
did
talking
you
about
do
right
that?
now.
We've been
So
trying to do
basically,
that
they're talking
forever.
about they're
And
combining
so I
essentially
think that kind of stuff is exactly
like
what we're
again he
looking
mentioned
for
it
when
is
we
like a
talk
mini
about,
GDC
what this
is what they
partnership might
typically
look like.
do,
It's not
and we're going to start
formally
to
in
see
saying,
this
we now
more
want you to
within
work with
all
them
of the
on this.
Microsoft
It
Studios.
is just simply
So they're
putting
going to
people
start
in front
having
of
in
each
the
other
future they're going
who
to
might
start
be
having
trying
like
something
these
they've
like
never
mini
done in a
conventions
game,
that are
or,
closed off, not public.
trying to come up with a new
Where
way
it's
to do
just
something
like
they
their
haven't
developers
before. That's really
that
where
are
you
starting
find
to
that.
work together
And-
to like
and
really
we
get
don't put barriers
into
up to prevent it,
ideas and
right?
sharing
That's
stuff.
really the
And
magic
this I
is-
think
is
is a
like we
healthy
wanna
thing
create the
because
connection so
a
that
lot
people
of
can find it
a lot of other
and build those
massive studio
relationships because
families
they last
owned
and
by
they're
other
durable
mega
and stay for a
corporations
long
don't
Well,
do
and I
that
think
kind
all
of a
of this,
thing.
Phil, goes back to something
And
that
that
Matt
might
said before,
increase
which I
and
love, which is Satya's
help with
email saying, we have as much to
communication
learn
and
from
flow
them
and
as
stuff
they
like
do
that
to
in
us. And
projects that
honestly,
they're
like
working on.
that,
Whereas like you
that
look at like a
mentality
company like
that he
EA
brings and that you
and
brings, I think, is what excites
those companies,
all of
those
us, because you all
studios
are
will
so
sometimes
willing
sabotage
to
each other.
embrace that and say, look, you don't have
So,
to have every answer. You don't have
yikes.
to have it all figured it out. Let's just talk and see if there's opportunity.
So I mean that's
Okay, we're going to stop there.
I
Todd and
like
Matt, thank
that
you
they're
both so much for
collaborating. I
taking
like
time
that they
out of your
have
busy
this
schedules
ecosystem,
to come on and talk to us a little
but
bit. I know you have
at
a
the
lot
same
of
time,
studios
it's
and
like, okay,
games
well, we don't need to
go
spend.
work
How
with,
long have
so
we been
we'll let
live
you
now?
go. As we start
been
to
40 minutes,
introduce you
holy
to more
crap.
of our family and all the different studios and games that Bethesda has and is bringing to the table. Los, you've been with me forever. You've worked with all of these studios. Where do we start?
I'd like to start from just about the beginning, a studio that I've had a privilege to work with for many, many years now. And those are the men and women at Zenimax Online Studios, the creators of The Elder Scrolls Online.
A fantastic MMO. If you haven't played it, you're missing out. It's a massive world, a ton of content. You're an ESO player.
I am, and I'm always blown away by how big the world is. Like as a player, and that's kind of my only association with it, other than just seeing how amazing it's doing on Game Pass right now. But like the amount of diversity in that world, I love playing. Great community. The players are so helpful. People like helping me get through, leveling up my characters. Fantastic game. Can't wait to hear more from you.
I'm loving the chat
Absolutely, it's
commentary
been a huge
here on our
success,
channel.
amazing community, and let's hear more from the folks at Zenimax Online right now.
He does kind of
Hey,
feel
I'm
like
Matt Fyra,
Grandpa talking to
Studio
you at
Director
Christmas
of
dinner.
Zenimax
Hey?
Online Studios, or ZOS as we call it. Short
ZOS?
history lesson. Back in 2007, ZOS was the first new studio at Bethesda, making us the test case for Bethesda being more than just a one-studio publisher. And unlike the others who came later, we were built from the ground ground up with a specific goal of creating massive online games. The first of which was to be set in the Elder Scrolls world. Back in the day, as a fellow DC area game developer, I knew Todd Howard and some others at Bethesda, so when I started at the company, we had a relationship to build on. And that grew stronger after spending my first few months with the Bethesda team, working with Todd and Todd Vaughn to lay out the Elder Scrolls Online world. Everything from picking the setting and timelines of the game to creating factions and determining storylines. This spirit of close collaboration stuck with me as I built ZOS. In fact, several people from BGS joined ZOS, including Rich Lambert, who's now creative director of ESO. The relationships built with headquarters and BGS helped shape.
Do you think all this emphasis on Elder Scrolls Online is a good idea?
Internally, as the studio grew, we share a focus on studio-driven creativity, which comes from the very top. And while we evolve separately, we always maintain that mutual trust with BGS, with headquarters, and later with the other studios in the extended Bethesda family. In fact, we pitched in and helped BGS with Fallout 76, and
most companies would have probably abandoned it right off. Like EA's Warhammer MMO was probably multiple times better than ESO at launch.
An example.
That game was
It's
canceled.
no secret that ESO stumbled when it launched in the beginning.
Just
but
down.
Robert didn't lose faith.
It was killed off.
You guys are smart, he said. It didn't go the way you wanted.
Our audience is
so
not
now
thrilled
you
with
fix
it. Everyone in our chat's like, stop talking about this. This is not doing you any favors.
But I mean, it is objectively right now. It is a very good MMO, and it has a constant stream of new content that is very good. So
ESO is huge.
That's a good thing.
And so much content, it's impossible to count the
if they're bringing that kind of mentality over to 76, then that bodes well for 76.
But it was all made possible because Robert gave us the opportunity to realize our vision and then build, refine, and adjust as needed. It wasn't always pretty, and it definitely wasn't easy. But through it all, his belief in us and the promise of what we could deliver made us who we are today.
Yeah, they are talking.
That's already in development. Everyone at ZOS is looking forward to being part of the Xbox family. Our friends there have already told us
we have a major announcement
not just in the
coming
games we're
from
making,
Zenimax
but the
Online
people
at
too.
some point down the road.
We can't wait to show you what's next.
Probably a new MMO looks like. So that's kind of big. That's kind of impressive.
Okay, let's hope they're starting with the least interesting.
I love that. I mean, it's so great to hear directly from the creator and to think what they've achieved in 7 years, right? And today they're the #1 multi-plat online role-playing game in the world. And we've seen it grow on Xbox, but when it went into Game Pass, it's just found a whole new audience.
It's been a terrific journey, and again, that community there, that Phil referenced and Matt Farrer referenced is an amazing support system. If you feel like you're ready to make the leap, they're ready to help you and have a great time. All right, so Losi said that was a homegrown sort of internal studio that we started after Bethesda Game Studios. As TV mentioned before, the first acquisition we ever made was the creators of the first-person shooter genre in id Software. Doom, Quake, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Is this going to be a history lesson of all of Bethesda's
they are best
from the beginning?
First shooter I ever played on a PC,
what we're seeing here is hints.
disk.
There's
How
lots
they
of
got
good
3D
information here
graphics
if you're
working
listening.
back in the
So,
day. I mean, it's just
like
how
if you're
they've
listening
taken
to the
that and modernized it,
subtext,
the reboot in
and what we know is Zenimax
Doom Eternal
Online
winning, so many
Studios
Game of the Year
is
awards.
preparing
It's
a
just
new
incredible, the
MMO.
legacy
So
that they
that's
have.
huge.
I tell you, there's a lot of Xbox fans excited.
Well,
id
when you talk
Software
about
is going to
passion,
hint
it's
at
hard to
something
find
that they're
folks who
working
are
on now.
more passionate than the folks at id Software. So why don't we take a look at Marty Stratton and his amazing team at id Software?
Yeah, 30 years.
Hi, I'm Marty Stratton, studio director at id Software. About a month ago, we celebrated our studio's 30th anniversary. It really is incredible to consider how much our industry has changed in those 30 years, and how many defining moments we've had the
they go all the way
opportunity
back
to be
to.
a
They
part
did the Keen games, I believe.
Wolfenstein 3D and Doom created and helped popularize the first-person shooter genre of games. Doom and Quake were among the first games to foster and build large-scale mod communities, as well as usher in multiplayer gaming. And our game engines have been at the heart of key advancements in technology licensing, 3D graphics acceleration, virtual reality, and game streaming.
It really does have a cool
At any point in our
history.
studio's history, you could pull back the curtain and see a tight-knit group of people that thrive on pushing creative and technical boundaries, hard at work, building fun-first games with a meticulous attention to detail and craftsmanship. We couldn't be prouder of our people, our games, and our relationship with players. When Bethesda purchased id back in 2009, we were the first independent game studio they had acquired. Although any number of fundamental changes could have come from that, what was immediately apparent and hasn't changed in more than a decade is that Bethesda shared that same pride and care for our people, culture, games, and community. From the start, Robert Altman and the entire Bethesda team said, "We want you to be yourself and do what you do best." Then they backed that up with the resources, stability, and support to make it happen. Now, game development is complicated and challenging, so it wasn't always smooth and almost never easy. But there simply wouldn't be a reboot of Doom in 2016 or its sequel, Doom Eternal, released last year
lots of
without
fluff for
Bethesda's
Robert
unwavering
passed away,
faith in the
and
team
it's
it is.
okay.
And it started at the top with Robert. His investment in our people and studio was always personal and genuine. You couldn't help but want to make him and the rest of the company proud. Over the years, some of the most memorable and rewarding moments have come when that pride is also shared with an incredible community of gamers at our annual QuakeCon event here in Dallas. In 2014, we debuted our vision for a new Doom to an audience of 3,000 fans. And because that was so much fun, we did it again in 2018 with Doom Eternal. In both instances, the unbridled passion and enthusiasm for what we were doing has provided our team years of inspiration and motivation. As gamers, we see how important communities are to Xbox, so we can't wait for our new colleagues to experience their first QuakeCon. Since acquiring id, Bethesda has added a number of other incredible teams to their family of studios, several of which we've been fortunate to work with more intimately. In particular, our friends at MachineGames are close collaborators on id Tech and have done fantastic work with the most recent Wolfenstein games. We've experienced firsthand how valuable it is to share ideas, technology, and experience with our sister studios, and can't wait to now expand that relationship with Xbox. As we like to say at the studio, we're grateful for all that has come before, but driven by what's ahead. We couldn't be more excited to start this new chapter with Bethesda and Xbox.
A lot of fluff, but it is they're a very cool studio. What's that?
They removed the other chair. It's not there.
That I think we like to talk about the history of the studio,
Yeah,
which is
people
amazing.
in the chat, they're commenting that Todd disappeared.
There's
Todd's
no
gone.
studio
Where'd Todd
that
go?
sweats every pixel
Like,
on screen.
not
Todd
only
was
is
gone in the last
gone, but the chair is empty.
They took away the chair.
So clear.
And
the
I
chair-
spent time with them.
And the mini nuke is gone too.
It just pops like
That's
it's
hilarious.
so clear.
They replaced it. The
and then when
nuke
you
went
think
off.
About their capability,
It's a mushroom cloud now.
I think about them collaborating and working and talking with the coalition and 343.
So this also
like
confirms
the
something
first-person
else
shooter,
that
third-person
some people
shooter
were
space
wondering.
that we have,
Was
the studios
QuakeCon
that
going
are
to be
there.
canceled
I think
now?
just
Now
kind
that
of an
they're
amazing
under
capability. The
Microsoft,
other
and
thing
it looks
I
like
get really excited
they're
about
confirming
with
that
id
they
we
are
haven't
going
really
to be
talked a lot about
resuming
is the future of
QuakeCons
id
at some point in the future.
and what
So
could that mean
that's good news
inside
for
of Xbox?
for
Obviously,
id
we've got
and
a ton of
Quake
studios
fans.
doing a bunch
So
of different work. I love the way Marty talked about
Okay,
how
very
they've
cool.
collaborated with other Bethesda studios on id Tech, and I just think about that to the next level. Like, what can we do inside of our organization with id Tech, which is one of the world's best game engines out there,
A
and
fan
just making
theory
a tool that so many developers
that
can
fifth
use
chair
to
was
realize their vision.
With
was
id, it's
one of
amazing
the Prey
because
mimics.
we didn't just get this like incredible
just ran off and
library
nobody
of
noticed.
IP. We got all these amazing people who are so
That's my
meticulous,
headcanon.
as you can tell through their games. But we also inherited things like QuakeCon. And it's been very special for me to work at that event. And Marty mentioned, showing off Doom 2016 to 3,000 people. I was there, and I can tell you that the excitement was off the charts.
It was religious. It was like
It
a
was.
religious experience.
And the cool thing about that event and about the team is that those 3,000 people were the first people in the whole world to see the game.
Yeah.
We didn't do some big media event. It was
Fans first.
Fans first. And these are the kind of interactions that we like to have. They come to that show year after year. And so they were the people that we wanted to show it to first.
And Los, as you were saying, sort of that two-way conversation, it's also important to point out, we showed 3,000 people Doom 2016 for the first time. Not a single thing leaked from any one of them. We said, put your phones down. This is just for you. And every single one of them said, we get it.
Except for
we
that
love
one
it,
guy
and
who
we're
recorded
totally
audio
on board.
at
And like
the
to be able to
Fallout
have a studio
4
extend that
event.
level of trust to a fan base and have the fan base reciprocate and say, hey, we're down. Like we won't take screenshots or videos, or it's it's part of what I think makes all of this so special.
One of my favorite moments over the last 16 years, for sure.
For sure.
Great.
And
There's
you know, as
a
we
lot
said,
of people
id Software
in
was the
on
first
their
acquisition
chat
we made,
that's calling
but
for
that sort
New
of
Vegas
started to
2.
snowball pretty
So-
quickly. And shortly after that, we had Machine
Oh,
Games
yeah.
come on board.
Oh, yeah, everybody
both
wants
of the
that.
studios at Arcane in Lyon and in Austin, and then Tango down in Japan was sort of 1, 2, 3
Fallout back
right
to
afterwards. So
Obsidian.
let's talk a little bit about all of those studios coming on board and what they do, because, you know, Phil, you were just talking about shooters, which is something obviously id knows very much, but their tech and their work went across all of those studios I just mentioned. You know, MachineGames coming in and rebooting Wolfenstein, this iconic franchise was...
Yeah, because the New Order runs on id Tech, right? I mean, all...
Yeah. Everything MachineGames has done has run on id Tech, and MachineGames collaborating with them set a standard for collaboration among studios that they then did with Arcane. So it was really interesting to see all of these folks come in together and sort of grab onto what we had started to establish with BGS and then ZOS and then id Software.
Hello, I'm Jerk Gustafsson, executive producer at MachineGames. MachineGames just turned 10, and we are still amazed at the opportunities we've had to make our own unique style of games and the incredible community of players who enjoy them. When I think back to the earliest days of Bethesda, long before we became part of the family, I believe Bethesda's culture really began with the creative freedom and support for Bethesda Game Studios and the games they make. Robert Altman always understood the value of allowing creatives to be creative. That we in our studios are the owners of what we do, so we always feel deeply invested in everything we make. Of course, that comes with its own pressures, but from the very beginning we knew Bethesda would always have our backs. In fact, everyone here felt that trust instantly when we joined. And we were trusted to take Wolfenstein, this iconic and pioneering first-person franchise created by id Software, and give it a fresh start. We wanted to make it our own, while still maintaining that id Software DNA of fast-paced action shooters with a somewhat violent theme, but made with a sense of humor. As a huge fan of id Software and given their history with some of the most classic and best shooters in the world, it was very important for us to develop a Wolfenstein that brought that legacy forward. While the shooting part still is core to the experience, at MachineGames our focus is on the roller coaster ride, bringing together different parts and features to make the full experience something special. An important part of that is the storytelling, and we made our mark building a diverse cast of characters who surrounded our version of BJ Blazkowicz as he fought Nazis around the world.
You still got some Nazi fighting killing skills up in you?
That game, those games did have excellent
game,
characters.
Wolfenstein: The New Order,
to that.
is a memory very dear to me. We, the core team, and the
Yeah, and
founders
they
of
actually felt
MachineGames
real,
got
not
to spend
like, you know,
3 hot
shoehorned
summer
in
weeks in Mesquite,
or
Texas,
poorly
at id
written
Software
like half
offices.
of Hollywood does.
Having
More
access
than
to the
half of Hollywood
experience
does.
and
Actually,
knowledge
the worst
about
part
the
about
franchise
Wolfenstein
that our
2
friends over at id
was that
had
when you complete the main
was
story,
extremely
you know, you can
valuable
carry
while
on
we
doing
made
all
our
the
first
side missions,
iterations
but
on
all
the
the main
story
characters are
and the
gone
structure
from your
of
main
the
hub.
game.
They're just off
I'm
somewhere.
still considering
You
it
can't
a
talk to
career
anyone. It
highlight that
sucks.
I, during that time, had my very own id Software email address. Since then, we have made several Wolfenstein games, and over the years, we have managed to build a rather close relationship with our sister studios. id Software, of course, but also Arcane Studios in Lyon, with whom we share a special relationship since we're both located in Europe. We share similar studio culture and overall development approach, which makes it really easy and also very fun to work together. We feel a connection to Tango in Tokyo as well, and we enjoy the opportunities we have to help each other out with development support and to learn and to share ideas with the other creative and talented world-class teams at Bethesda. And now, at this very moment, we are of course extremely excited about our work on the new Indiana Jones game in collaboration with Todd Howard, one of the greatest creative minds in gaming. It is a true privilege to be in this
Shooting was
business,
really
a
good too,
business
Sword
that is
Sister.
constantly evolving.
And yes, it used its.
And if I
it
look
used
back
tech.
when I started
this guy
modding
started
Quake
out as a
25
modder
years ago now,
for Quake 25
it's different
years
in
ago.
so
That's
many
amazing.
ways,
Wow.
but still as fun and rewarding as it was back then. Talking about it, we actually have a Quake modding group that get together every Wednesday evening here at MachineGames. And it's so fun.
Nope, we lost
And
Keisuke.
team building events like these really shows how passionate we still are about gaming. As high as it ever was. And I know that passion will be supported by Xbox in the same way that Bethesda has supported too. Thank you.
I'm Harvey Smith, studio director and co-creative director at Arcane Austin. Early on, when we were working on Dishonored, we had these meetings at Bethesda, to sort of pitch what we had done, show off the most recent milestone. And there was a moment when one of the execs asked about some of the stranger elements that we had in it, sort of 1850s steampunk or gas lamp kind of stuff, and complimented it, really liked it. And we looked at each other at the time and said, we've kind of been holding back. We love those elements too. We think they're what make the game really distinct.
Actually,
And the
that
advice
is
we
a
were
good
given
point.
wasn't be conservative or be safe. It was
Dishonored is one of the
And
few,
so once we were given that green light,
very successful
we just rolled hard into what
steampunk,
people started calling the whale punk
things out
aesthetic
there.
of the game.
Steampunk is
The
this
type of games that we work
beautiful,
on,
wonderful
they're
concept
first-person shooter
that
and
has
RPG,
unfortunately
not
just had a
fully
lot
one
of
or the other, but there's something distinct, something in the middle.
It's had a
We
lot
love
of really
simulated
bad luck
elements from
in
the AI to the
and
physics
just
to,
not
the
having
player's
not very much
powers and movement
success.
abilities and the way those
It's
things
true.
can interact.
It's true. I mean, Thief did
in manners
okay.
that
The
we
older
didn't even
Thief games.
foresee. The environmental storytelling.
But like even in
the
books, like
locations that we put so
steampunk
much
is
love
this
and lore
great,
into.
beautiful concept, but
There are
it's
also
just not.
characters in all our games that are very
It's
important
never
to us.
had that
Mindy Blanchard was
number
an
one
important character for
bestseller
us. We
to it.
launched a game
There's a
with Billy
niche
Burke,
community that
which we were very
absolutely
proud to do. We
adores
love
it.
that character.
But
Standing on the
it's
stage
just
at
never
the Bethesda
quite
showcase,
there. There's other
announcing
products
to
and
the world
stuff like
Dishonored 2,
D&D and some of
we rolled
that
out
universe
Emily
that
Caldwin as the
there's a little bit
protagonist
of it
for the
there,
first
but
time,
not
which is a super exciting
not
moment.
to the
And
point
the
where you'd actually
response
call
we
it
got from players,
as a primary thing,
especially
right?
women who
Yeah.
at the time
think
didn't have
Bioshock
as many
kind of seems like,
representational
yes,
avatars.
this girl.
All of that is just super important to us. It's not quite the same game that any other person would make, and to have the right partners that support us through that is just critical. And it's really the culture that Bethesda set up, that Robert Altman set up, that makes
That's why you can never trust your coffee cup.
Safe to run in the directions we want to run in. So for us, being part of Xbox is very similar to when
I like those
Arcane
plushies,
first
they're
joined with Bethesda. It was like, hey, here's a partner we trust. Here's a partner who wants to make good
Bioshock
games.
is ecosystem
And it's just
punk.
Like you can't do creative work
Yes.
unless you feel like somebody has your back.
100%.
Somebody's setting up the right environment for you. And at the end of the day, at the end of your career, it's not about which awards you won or how much money you made. It's really about those moments where the players tell you what it was like for them to experience a particular character or particular combat or a particular stealth moment. It's just so powerful when
I
they
believe
talk about how the game has
I believe
impacted them in their lives.
Bioshock is the spiritual successor of
Our
System
goal
Shock
is
in the
to
sense
keep
of
doing what we love and keep,
the people working
making
on it.
players happy.
I might be wrong about that.
Hi, I'm Dinga Bakaba, I'm game director at Arcane Lyon, and I believe I have a different perspective to share because I joined Arcane after Bethesda acquired us. I joined a studio that I admired deeply because they made a very specific type of game that some call immersive sims. And I will admit, I was concerned. Would Bethesda allow Arcane to keep doing the kind of games we make?
The beloved Empress dead, and everyone thinks you're the killer.
And as you can see, the answer is yes. I quickly learned that Bethesda acquired Arcane because they believed in the kind of games we make. But now we had more means, we had more firepower. It was the opportunity to step up our game, basically. And yes, there was challenges, there was hard discussions, but it was
It's been 5
always
years since
with the
Dishonored
goal
2,
of
guys.
making
Come on.
the best Arcane games possible.
I need more.
So
Deathloop
I
looks
also
awesome,
remember our first midwinter meeting.
Give me more Dishonored.
It's where the heads of studio gather together in Maryland. They present their current projects to the entire company. It's when I discovered Skyrim.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say these are the guys who are making Deathloop, and I think they're gonna be like.
Dishonored was there.
I don't know if they're gonna be rotating between these franchises, but I suspect they'll get back to Dishonored after Deathloop.
It's not. Sorry, it's not 5 years. 2017.
We are
I
not
think.
the exception here.
Dishonored 2.
At Arcane, all these studios are doing exactly what they should be doing, each in their own way. And over the years, I've gone from admiration to actually working with those studios.
Dishonored was a real. Dishonored is what
with MachineGames
I always
several
wished
times,
the
helping
original
out on
Thief
the new
could be.
Colossus, co-developing Youngblood, which is nice because it was always a
Well,
choice, not a demand.
and Dishonored 2
We
was
made
just
connections,
like a cut
we shared
above.
our mutual admiration, and it was an opportunity to learn from each other while supporting each other's artistic
Deathloop
vision.
does look amazing though.
I don't know. I always thought Thief as being one of those games that you're supposed to get through without ever being caught or seen at all. Period, and that's the primary goal of it, not an advanced combat sim. I know you can play it that way.
Maybe they
but
cannot
still.
tell because I'm so
I like how
French,
they've got
it's pretty bad.
the left
So,
side of his screen there
I just
blurred
want to warn
out.
everyone at Xbox.
Yeah.
Now I get to be weird and awkward with you all.
Well, yeah, Dishonored. I mean, that's the thing. You can play it that way, or you can play like I've played Dishonored 2 multiple times in like 3 different play styles.
Hi, I'm Shinji Mikami from Tokyo Tango Game Works. 僕たち、単語のスタッフは、約10年前に、ここ東京で、若いスタッフ中心として、
Don't ask me why I turned it up. We've got subtitles.
そして新しい、クリエイターの人たちにチャンスを与えようというところでスタートを切りました。
This is their, in case you have caught on, this is their Japanese studio.
Yeah.
リレーションシップを、構築しながらここまで来ました。で、この度、Xbox の人たちと一緒に仕事するっていうことで、今後どういう化学反応が起きるかっていうことに対して非常に僕たちはエキサイティングしています。今後の僕たちはまず僕たちクリエイターが面白いものを作る。で、そしてそれ以上にお客さんの満足、高い満足をすごく重要視したゲーム作りをしていきたいと思っています。なんでよろしくお願いします。We look forward to join Xbox family. Thank you.
I'm curious about their game, their upcoming game.
Yeah.
First of all, I just have to say it's so nice to
Know
see all
very
their
little about
faces.
it.
I know it's on video, but I miss them all. I've had this unique privilege of being able to travel the world, to spend time with these studios, and I don't know if everyone knows that we have all these studios around the world.
The happy lady from Tango works for the Game Awards now?
Sort of common DNA.
What?
I guess you would say in terms of what they're about or what they're trying
That's what
to
you
do.
get
but you
for
can also
being the
tell
best
and
presenter
listen to
at the
these
Game
folks.
Awards.
Like on one video, you've got the
Or
guy
was
who
that
invented
E3? I don't
Survival
remember.
War. Some folks who took
I thought she
Wolfenstein,
started
which
her own
had no
studio.
dialogue, and suddenly it's got tons of story and
Or moved
character
to
and
a new
Arcane, what they
studio.
do. Like,
I'm,
it's that
yeah, I don't know.
sort of being
Just
able to
reading it from the
diversify
chat.
while still having some sort of core DNA and some shared identities.
Yeah,
Does
definitely.
anybody
As
know
you're
her name off
watching
the top of
all
your
the
head?
pieces, you feel some common threads that come out. One is trust and confidence. Robert's mentioned a lot the way
do
that
not.
Bethesda supported teams to do
I
new
don't
things. And we've said this in Xbox as we've been planning for this moment for so long. This is an opportunity for us to learn as an organization from a team that's done work incredibly well. You've worked with such a diverse set of studios,
So,
giving them a sense
to,
of confidence, and you heard the stories that allow them to go and
find
try
the
new
answer to the question of
in
what her
different
name
ways,
was,
not
I just
stay
typed
safe.
in
Like,
cute
that's the goal.
Japanese
The
dev at
platform
Game
holder
Awards,
and the
and
aspiration that we have,
first
we don't
line.
need 15 games that are trying to do the same thing. We would like to try 30 different things across 15
was a
different
hit.
games. It's even more now when you think about all the studios. So I love just listening and learning from what you and the teams have built, and hearing the sense of confidence that the teams have of we can go try to do new things, we can go work with another partner that we have and learn from that. Really amazing work, and I just can't wait to learn more and more about how you've done that over the years.
Now, I do want to highlight one thing, which is we have 2 more studios that we haven't talked about yet, and there's a reason for that, which is, well, they're not working on games that we're ready to talk
Nova
about.
Scotia.
So,
I always forget that they have a
just
Nova
acquired, but
Scotia
we need to mention our colleagues
studio.
up in Wisconsin and in Nova Scotia as well.
Yes, so Roundhouse Studios joined us last year, and like Pete said, they're in Wisconsin. And then we also added another mobile studio to the family called Alpha Dog, and so we're not quite ready to talk about what they're up to.
Ooh, I like it. Teams working on secret projects. Come on, that's what everyone.
Plus, they have amazing hockey jerseys. Alpha Dog makes studio high. Well, they're in Nova Scotia, and they're amazing. They're the envy of everybody else.
Texas to Nova Scotia.
We cover everything.
Look at those good-looking Canucks.
I'm ready to go to Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, go see Tango, a studio that I just have such respect for the history of the creations there. I've talked for a long time about our desire to have more of a first-party presence in Japan. This is a great step there. So, I mean, just thinking about the map of where these teams are, and it's talking about all the games they're working on, but I can't wait to spend more time with the Tango team and get to know them.
You may have forgotten about one important studio that we haven't heard from yet.
Oh, Bethesda Game Studios. You wanted to talk about them?
Yes, I know we had Todd here with us earlier.
Okay, for
but
heaven's
Ashley
sake,
also,
give us
shared some
something
messages
here.
with us about the studio there and their thoughts on this partnership.
Hi, I'm Ashley Chang, the Managing Director of Bethesda Game Studios. On behalf of the over 420 developers across all our studios in Montreal, Austin, Dallas, and Rockville, I'd like to thank the leadership team at Xbox and Microsoft for the warm welcome to the Xbox family. You know, when we started 20 years ago, we were like an indie rock band, a small team of around 40 developers, and we had the complete freedom to make the kinds of open-world role-playing games that we're known for today. This amazing studio that I'm privileged to work at is a testament to the leadership of our creative visionary and studio head, Todd Howard. It's also a credit to Robert Altman, who we will miss very much. Without his trust and support, we would not be the studio we are today. One of the reasons for our success, we've made a lot of games together. I believe the value of a team is the sum of the problems they've solved together. The more games shipped together, the stronger the team gets. After Morrowind, rather than immediately work on a direct sequel, Todd had a grand vision for what our studio could be, and we asked Zenimax if we could spend the next 4 years to make our next game. As always, Robert and the rest of Zenimax gave us the support and trust to accomplish that vision. The next game was Oblivion, and that was the start of an amazing industry-leading run, not just for us, but also for Bethesda and Zenimax too. Today, the team working on Starfield have all worked on several open-world RPGs together. This shared experience and chemistry doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time and is a lot of hard work.
The basket over his head. Love that.
Our relationship with Xbox starts back at our indie rock days too. We were working on Morrowind and we weren't sure if anyone would want to play this kind of game on a console. But Xbox team said yes, and they were supportive from the start. They even did the disc layout for us, which is something we had no experience doing. Ever since, Xbox has been a great partner, always ready to help solve problems like figuring out how to optimize performance and push the hardware as much as we can, to pushing other boundaries like letting our modding community share full Skyrim and Fallout 4 mods on Xbox. Since Morrowind, we watched Zenimax grow all around us. We grew too as a studio,
coin to your
and as more and more studios joined the family. We have worked with Zenimax Online Studios from the start on the Elder Scrolls Online, a relationship that continues today. What they've accomplished with that game is remarkable and a huge inspiration to us. The spirit of mutual admiration and support has been an important part of Zenimax across all the studios. We have all contributed in big and small ways to each other's games, and we continue to be each other's biggest fans. As we work on our next generation of games, we can think of no better place to be than here at Xbox. No matter how crazy the idea, the team at Xbox always says, yes, let's try it. On behalf of everyone at BGS, I want to thank everyone who played Morrowind back in the day, and every game we've made since. Sincerely, thank you for playing our games. We couldn't have done it without your support, and we hope you were excited to see all the great things we're working on for the future.
Yeah, you want to show us some, maybe? Come on. Nothing?
So, fellas, Ashley mentioned, obviously, a big part of our relationship really is owed to the Morrowind product and us working with you all and saying, hey, we're going to stop doing just PC-only stuff and try this console thing and see how that works out.
You know, for me, as a player of your games, you've always challenged yourself. If I think about whether it's bringing a traditional PC genre to console, the work you've done around VR, around streaming, around modding on console. Like, it's hard for us as a platform to think about the pushes that we've had from a publisher who said, we want to go try something. And at first, of course, we're defensive. Well, I don't know about that. Then we start to think and work together. So many of those innovations, not just for Xbox, but in the game industry,
focused around
were born right here
certain
at Bethesda. And it's, I think about the path
Argonian
forward
maid
and that continued push
and
for us
her
to
various,
evolve our platform and service is going to be fantastic.
love interests.
Well, and I think that's part of where some of that excitement comes from, right? Which is being a developer and having this kind of passion and even getting to work more closely hand in hand with the folks who are making those decisions, pushing those technologies, whether it's streaming or console power or whatever it is, that, you know, it is different when you're inside versus external. I mean,
one of the things Todd and I were actually talking about this morning was to be able to sit down with the teams here and go through our 10-year roadmap, which almost by definition is wrong because we don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now, but we have an idea, like we have some plans. And to have that full disclosure with stuff that's just kind of crazy spaghetti on the wall ideas and stuff obviously that's sooner, that's a little more solid, hopefully, and to share that with you and get the feedback. I think Sarah did a good job talking about the fact that we used to always bring our console here first. We'd bring it under a shield of darkness, like, and then bring it, and then watch Todd give us kind of the thumbs up and thumbs down on the design of our console. You know, but that's feedback because when you're inside of your own bubble, it's easy to believe what you've done. And we talk about these trust bubbles of everybody on the team and what we believe. You heard it in the pieces here of your studios have a trust bubble with themselves. They're willing to share stuff with their sibling studios and get that feedback. And to me, this just expanded the people smart people that we can talk to about the plans that we have that have a shared vision of where gaming's going.
All right. Anything else? Did we cover all those?
I think so. I'm just incredibly excited for the future. I'm so happy that you took the time to come visit us here in Maryland. I look forward to learning from you, from working with you on this summer event that we've promised now. It's just, the future's exciting.
Well, we officially can start working together today,
Yes.
right? This is day
yes.
one. And,
First meeting right after this.
and it's genuine. What Phil says, like, don't be shy. Give us the feedback. We want to learn from you guys as much as we can share back.
And I'm excited to meet even more players.
There is a
You're gonna
lot
introduce
of
me to
fans
a
on our
lot,
side
I'm
that have grown
sure,
up playing your games and huge fans of your games. So no shortage of love on our end.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic part.
Aaron, any final thoughts?
No, I just, listen, you know, I'm the marketing guy, so I'm just going to sort of say, listen, this is the start. So I would say that, you know, we haven't got everything figured out yet. We're now officially able to work together. I think what we've achieved between the teams, to have 20 games to be able to go in as a gift for fans to celebrate this moment is really special. That is a lot of work. So we're trying to get these up, and you know, a lot of these are older games that we're getting up and running on PC Game Pass and things like that. But I think it's a great gift for fans, and so I think we're really excited about that. You know, as Aaron said, you know, we're excited to go jointly work on stuff together as we think about big beats together. We think about all these studios under one umbrella. We talked about, you know, some of the greatest RPGs ever made, the greatest RPG creators now all part of one team, you know, the greatest shooter tech, the greatest shooter franchises all part of one team. And, you know, beyond that, the innovation and the creativity.
It's a lot of skills, a lot of stuff
so
under one roof.
It's just an incredible time to be an Xbox gamer and to be in this industry. And so I couldn't be more excited.
Same, feel the same. Phil?
You know, I'll start, and I know this is something we're doing for everybody to watch, but I'd be remiss if I didn't start with the teams here and what a commitment we have, and I have personally, to building an environment and a culture where creators feel like they can absolutely do their best work. And that is something that's at our core. It's something that Robert and I talked a lot about leading into this, of how do we go create a world-class creative organization together, and kind of in his memory, I want to deliver on that. And I have a commitment to that to the teams here. And the result of that for the millions of people who love playing games, who love what we're doing at Xbox, is that you're going to get an amazing set of games to go play. From genres across the board, as you said, Aaron, amazing detail, the concentration on the craft. And this is all about the mission that we have of the power of play, to unite people across the planet, 3 billion people playing video games, we want to ensure that anybody who wants to will be able to experience the great games that we're going to build together. Whether that's the technology that we're pushing on or business models to ensure that more people have access to the voices of different creators with different perspectives telling their stories on our platform. I'm just a fundamental believer in the power of video games to help bring this planet closer together, and I think it's a time when we need it, and I love what we're going to be able to do together here.
Perfectly said. We're so excited for this partnership and to get going. We've been chopping at the bit for a while.
Are we going to see any of this?
We got some really exciting stuff coming.
I kind of doubt it.
So thank all of you for joining us today. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to watch. We appreciate your time. We hope you enjoyed a little look at sort of who we are and what we're bringing to the table as Bethesda and Xbox come together in this amazing new partnership, and we can't wait to see what's next. So thank you all for joining us. Take care. Have a good night.
Signal detected.
Iris, what's happening?
What the heck is this?
External camera 15.
This is
Camera 10.
They're here. Send them in.
Nice.
Yes!
Hey, you. You're finally awake.
I actually like meeting new people. You're part of the family, after all.
It's even better than I thought. I like this one.
Tongue don't let her cringe.
Our future begins.
So, all right. So, what did we learn?
You'll have
today?
You'll have to tell me what we learned from today.
So we learned that Xbox still is going to have a significant amount of autonomy. Yes,
automatons, yeah.
Autonomy,
yes, autonomy.
Autonomy from what they're going to be doing and what kind of content they're going to be running with. There is going to be more cross work that they're going to be able to do. So with that, we'll actually see probably general improvement over most of the studios. So in this, we're going to see the best things that the Bethesda group has been good at in the past. We're going to see more of that stuff floating over to other companies within the umbrella of Microsoft. So we may end up seeing, and this is going to be one of the key things that I'm going to be looking out for, and we won't really know where this goes until probably about 2 or 3 years into this experiment. How much more modding is going to be embraced on the in the Microsoft umbrella? Will it become a bigger part of what they do, or will it become a smaller part of what they do? And I think it's going to be, obviously, I can say with certainty, it's going to be one of those two things, right? It's either going to be embraced more or embraced less.
Really, is there a third option?
There's not really a third option. It's going to stay exactly as it is right now. Like no, not really. So it's a little bit of a cop-out, but basically it's a serious one because we have to see where they go from here, right? We've got to see what they're going to be doing, and we won't know until they start showing off some of their new stuff.
Do you think there will be motivation for Microsoft to invest in modding tools for the Xbox, or at least an easier way to implement mods on the Xbox?
No, they have an easy way of implementing mods on the Xbox. You can mod a ton of stuff in and port it into the Microsoft scenario. Now you still have to do that via that store thing. But so they don't need more tools. What they need is a wider availability, right? That's what they need. They need a better, bigger system in which people can do more mods. Now, again, this comes at kind of a catch-22. Is like you want to give people more freedom to upload mods, more free to play mods, instead of paid mods. I think you want to do that, but at the same time, if you do that, you do introduce the option for having people flood the market with programs that can potentially screw with people or steal stuff from them. So that is of course a major concern, right? Is the safety factor of that thing.
Right.
But again, I think what we're looking at there is we are looking at the possibility that is something that is going to be increasingly maybe on the table more, and we'll cross our fingers and hope that it is. It could be that it gets kind of pushed to the back burner and we don't see a lot of modding for games going forward. But I think that would be, I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think they're going to embrace mods going forward because it's such a crucial part of their DNA, and so many of the big people there understand that, right? Like Todd understands that, and he's now more in charge than ever before. So I would say, yeah, it's probably an acceptable thing.
And so, sister, I agree that modding exists despite Bethesda. Maybe it's more accurate to say despite Zenimax, but either way, it's definitely true that they
not
their
that
culture
despite,
and their
not despite Beth. Bethesda has always given tools, and yeah, they want to make money off of it in some way, shape, or form. But that doesn't mean that they're against modding or they're against free modding. It's just they want a piece of pie too, and they want some way of increasing that. I think they know, and I think they're prepared. That's why they're not changing engines. That their future games have to be as mod friendly as they possibly be, because if they don't, or if they don't have that, then it's just not going to do well. So
agreed.
Yeah.
But I mean, they make money off it just by the fact that their games are so moddable that that's a huge reason why people get into it. I mean, there's a reason why there are many people who've bought 5 copies of Skyrim, as they move from one machine to another, whatever, they lose their old account. However, you've bought multiple copies, have you not, Sib?
No, I think I just have the one.
Just the one?
So, and we know that modding is a crucial part of their thing, because if you look at PlayStation and you look at Xbox and you look at just who's playing more, more Skyrim, who's playing more Fallout 4, and then where the mod integration is, of course, it's higher on Microsoft because they want it to be and because they've allowed it to be. But in contrast, just Bethesda games have always been far more popular on Xbox than they have ever been on PlayStation. So that's just a natural order of things that that really increase the importance of this, and that's one of the reasons why I think why this deal was forged and founded. So yeah. So the other thing that they mentioned there is that they are going to continue to have Bethesda focused big events, big conventions, and that kind of thing. They really alluded to that quite heavily with the Quake Con and with a bunch of other things. They are very, 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 very much in charge of that, and they're going to be pushing ahead on that going forward. So I suspect that we're going to see a rise of that and a continued rise of that.
It would fly in the face of their whole it's all about the fans first. If they took away those cultural things that the fans are already into, it would really fly in the face of that for sure. So that's
now announcements, as the announcements go and as like things go that are important to note. They did mention how there's going to be even more interconnected cooperation between all Microsoft studios now. And I think when you hear that, I think this reinforces what I'm hearing, which is, again, I can't reiterate how much this is a rumor and how far away this is from being completed. The idea of having a Fallout New Vegas produced by Obsidian. This I think it wasn't obvious, it was not directly keyed into, but the fact that they're saying that they're welcoming and they're interested in more crossovers and more exchanging of ideas, exchanging of IPs, exchanging of stuff to really flush out their content. At some point in the future, I have got to assume that there's going to be some kind of a, those team ups that you just dream of.
It's
like,
obvious. It's so obvious.
Like
Yeah.
Starsky and Hutch, the what's some other great duos in comedic, and Abed and Costello.
Oh, you're going way back now.
Well, yeah,
it's
Jack
the
Benny
obvious
and
team.
Sorry.
Okay, you've lost everybody.
You interrupted me, and now I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I get the point you're going for.
Rochester. So Jack Benny and Rochester, all these great duos. Thinking of that, I have got to believe that at some point in the future, we have to see a Master Chief and Doomslayer. I mean, it's a match made in heaven. I can see it now. They're both drop out of the sky. They land on the ground, gigantic explosion. They stand up. They look at each other. They're flexing each other's muscle, or not each other's muscle. They're flexing muscles, and then they run towards each other.
Maybe
in
each other's
a
muscles.
field full of daisies with flowers blowing in the wind, and there's a music as they're running, and they give each other a hug as a swarm of aliens and demonic creatures come pouring over the hills on both sides, and it's coming, guys, it's coming.
I think Saib is still loopy from the dental work, but I see where you're going with that. Some crossovers would be fun. I mean, come on.
But
Minecraft and Wolfenstein, there's some obvious crossover there. But
now, again, I'm not saying the crossovers thing, but seriously, that's obviously a joke. But no, the general idea that some of their studios are going to start working on other projects that were in other hands of other companies, and then vice versa. This seemed to be alluded to in more than one occasion there. Again, fairly subtly, but to the point where it's like, that's big stuff. So as far as announcements go, it's clear that they have a lot of announcements to do, which is why they said this summer they want to do a big announcement, because they have a lot of stuff that they want to talk about. So this is kind of big. And we also know that they are working the Zenimax Studio, Zenimax Online, different than Zenimax parent company, but Zenimax Online has made it clear that they are working on a new project. Considering that they specialize in MMOs, I think we can see that this is going to be an MMO, and I think we've got, I think something's coming down the pipeline there, obviously. So, yeah, that's huge. So, yeah,
is that something? Is that something that the gaming public is hungry for? Is another Bethesda MMO? That's my.
It's not a Bethesda MMO. It's a ZeniMax MMO. So that MMO could be any of the IPs that ZeniMax had access to up before the Switch, because it's clear that they have been working on it for a while now. So if they've been working on it a while, then we can assume that it was obviously one of the IPs that was owned pre-merger. So pick the list of current MMO or current IPs that Bethesda owned up until yesterday exclusively, and one of them is getting an MMO experience.
Obviously,
Quake. We know that now.
Obviously, it'll be Quake, right? No. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And you said something else very interesting earlier on as well about Todd apologizing for the Fallout 76 debacle. Now, now I hadn't caught that. I don't know if my attention was on something else. So what did he actually say, and what did you pull out of it?
How did you miss that?
It was I was distracted by stuff, reading chat or something. You get
okay. He made. It
was not the most scintillating press conference of the year. So and it's been a slow year. So
he admitted that he said, I need to find the quote here. but he basically said that it was a that they messed up royally on it, and that there wasn't any aspect of that game that they didn't screw up.
See, no, I did not catch that. I think my eyes glazed over and I kind of went into a trance as they were talking about how wonderful Fallout 76 was before that. And I just kind of zoned out. So that's probably why I missed that. But anyway, I'm going to go back and look at it because we're going to make a clip out of that on our main channel. I'm going to clip this part out as well, put it on the main channel. So if you're listening to this on the Triple S League, as opposed to live on Triple S Podcasts, don't forget to hit that sub button for all of our edited content there. And then on the Triple S Podcasts channel, you can catch our bi-weekly podcast, our gaming news podcast we do live twice a week, as well as some other content like this. So, do you have the clip, or will we just have to?
No, you will have to clip it out because we got to find it.
I'll cut it in later and insert it here. Yeah. So, okay, very interesting. It was. I mean, there were some interesting bits in that presser. I enjoyed the stuff about id. I enjoyed the stuff from MachineGames. I wish we'd. I mean, only because I'm kind of interested in those studios and have been following them for a while. And been playing their games since I was very small, so that's I enjoyed sort of hearing about the histories of those studios. But really, there was just it was a corporate ego massage session plus some history lessons about their studios. Overall, aside from those tidbits that you pulled outside, there just wasn't much here, honestly, and that's quite disappointing. I know a lot of you watching on our channel here were hoping for a lot more. I was hoping for a lot more. We did.
Okay, so I managed to pull up the actual statement that he's made here. So Todd Howard says it really is talking about how 76 has grown and how much there's a solid community, a very healthy community behind it now. And Todd Howard says it really is. And 76, while you mention it, is something where it's another sort of point in my mind with our relationship where when that game launched, the litany of issues we had, and we let a lot of people down. There was very little we didn't screw up, honestly. And one of the people that I called was Phil. And said, hey, there's so many things we're dealing with. What advice do you have? And he put them in touch with people at Xbox who were able to look at the game in the systems and what was important, what wasn't important, what had failed, kind of thing. And then that had made it for the long haul. And that's the advice that they took to heart in trying to repair and fix the game. So that's pretty big for people who continually say that, he hasn't apologized. I mean, that's him admitting, that they royally screwed up and that there wasn't any, there wasn't very much in that game that they hadn't completely, blundered. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
I was just checking on Twitch. We had somebody talking in the Twitch chat room there. So welcome to those of you watching on Twitch as well as our YouTube channel here. So yeah. So an admission of big blunders, at least. Not so much an apology, but that's I think as close to an apology as you can get in a situation like this. And I mean, it's not good. It's not good PR to be like, guys, we're so sorry. It's just not. I mean, at least they've admitted they screwed that up. So there we go. Anyway, so was definitely hoping for more from this event. I was not expecting them to be sitting down and saying, "Hey, this is day one when we can officially work together," because I mean, granted, the deal hadn't been approved. I would have thought some sort of collaboration or some sort of planning would have gone into the past few months, in which they were getting prepared for this being finalized, because they were simply talking about it as if it were finalized. Not sure what could have come up that would have interrupted this deal from happening. It had to be approved by regulating bodies, but really it's somewhat disappointing that they couldn't show us anything. Still nothing from Starfield. I think a peek at Starfield would have somewhat redeemed it.
I think, as I said before, I think this indicates that what we are seeing now is we will not be seeing anything that's not ready, and that especially when it comes to Todd, he is going to have even more of an ability than now, where I don't think we're going to get anything on these games until they're almost ready to go.
Well,
we're talking a month or less of PR when it comes to Bethesda games in the future.
So that could be a very good thing.
I mean,
if we read into what they didn't show us, they didn't show us a bunch of unfinished games and empty promises. So perhaps that's a good thing. If they carry that forward, and if that's the MO they take going forward, I would definitely appreciate that. I mean, it's kind of it's no fun hearing about this or seeing this awesome game that you want to play, and then it's a year and a half away still. Oh, okay, well, I mean, I've got 2 birthdays between then and now, and yeah, so yeah, I see what you're saying there for sure. Sword Sister's asking, so Saib, do you think this means Todd rules the show now? Well, I mean, Phil Spencer and Todd Howard have they have a long time working relationship, or at least, Todd does with Xbox. And so it would be...
When it comes to the Bethesda wing, so the immediate Bethesda wing and all the whatever he covers, which we don't know if he covers how much of everything that he does cover, how much of it appears that he is going to be in charge of a lot. How many of those studios that means or that translates to, we don't know yet. But I think that he is basically going to be running pretty much everything in that regard. So.
Well, and that'll, if that's true, that'll give us the opportunity to separate out his management style from what was being dictated down to him from Zenimax previously.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything more to say before we wrap up here?
Yeah, no. I think that's it, because I don't think there's anything else that's really. I don't think there's anything else that's really there right now. That like we're gonna have to wait to see, obviously, and that's unfortunate, but we're gonna be getting something this summer, probably late summer, if not fallish. So
I was assuming it'd be around E3 time, like they normally do, or are we getting something in addition to their E3?
I think we're gonna. No, I think their regular E3 event is essentially going to be more or less canceled, and I think they're going to have their own event, because E3 they would do stuff for E3 specifically. So whether there's an Xbox event that normally takes place, I can't imagine them having a Bethesda event and then also having an Xbox event. So if Xbox is doing an event this summer in place of what they normally host at E3, then Bethesda will just join Xbox in that showcase. Something more specific to Bethesda products and Bethesda, formerly Bethesda Studios only, then that's something that we'll probably see later on, when they normally used to host their like kind of their own like later summer event around the QuakeCon thing. So that's kind of like those two events, but I think something is going to be obviously put into the grindhouse now of events and concepts. So yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's what we'll see.
All right. Anyone interested in some more discussion on this, please do check out our Discord server. You can find the link in the description below. And there's lots of places there where you can chat with us. You can chat with other members of our excellent community about all the things we love to talk about. We don't just talk about games there, but of course we do have lots of space to talk about your favorite games and general gaming news and what's going on in the industry. So please do check that out. If you are, especially if you're new and you're not part of that community yet, if you've just found us today with this live stream on Triple S Podcasts, we welcome you to check out our main channel, which is much larger. We've just started this separate podcasts channel. Our main channel is much larger, has a ton more content over there, so check that out, the Triple S League. You can find links to everything in the description below. And don't forget to slam that like button if you really did appreciate this content. We appreciated having all of you here with us. I think that the best part of today was interacting with the chat. So there are lots of great banter that took place back and forth through some of the more boring parts of that presentation. Which, I mean, it is disappointing we didn't see any trailers or anything like that. But like Saib said, perhaps they are holding back. They're keeping their cards a little closer to their chests and are only going to reveal things when they're ready, which is a good approach to take. Yes, Bluntman, ecosystem indeed. The drinking game of, how many times would they say ecosystem? I'm sure everybody's plastered, so you'd better go lie down. And you're welcome, Bluntman. So yes, thank you all for joining us today. Again, join the Discord server for more conversation. Often we have people hopping into some of the voice channels over there after our live streams. So there may be some opportunity to chat over there. Take care, everybody. We are off for now. Look forward to seeing you at our next live podcast on Saturday. So on behalf of Saib and Moontag, my name is Ash. We will talk to you again very soon.